All right, no more fireworks. At least no more illegal fireworks. Yeah, I'm sure in my neighborhood they'll still be popping everywhere because once you buy all those fireworks in New Hampshire, you gotta spread them out a little bit, right? Can't all blow them in one night. Great to have you aboard. It was a kind of a funny 3-day weekend, a tale of 2 days, huh? Friday was a complete washout, and Saturday looked like it was the most beautiful day of the year. And I hope that you were able to rearrange the deck and make good and got together and celebrated the nation's independence and its birthday with the people that you care about. So it is now slow down the summer, right? Because after the 4th of July, you feel like, wow, this thing is just moving way too fast. So I'll talk slowly for you and try to keep the summer. Sorry. Let's go down the rundown. Oh, by the way, Frank Caprio is my guest. He's running for state treasurer. He's the former treasurer, as you should know. I usually say that on the other camera, but since I'm stuck here, slowly talking to save the summer, I'll just stay here. Hey, just a couple of officers, man. That's all you need to get people to the beach. We'll talk about it in a second. I want to know, are we that stupid and simple? Really? I mean, are we? I'll explain. There's a hero in the House, the Speaker of the House, Nick Mattiello. He tells newsmakers this past weekend, almost, thank God we were there to save education and the kids from graduation, or not graduating as the case may be. And as we move along in the rundown, looks like a local business star has a brand new project predicting multi-billion dollars worth of revenues. If I knew it was going to be this fast, I'd watch it, for heaven's sakes. And just a little story from the weekend. A little concerned about the mentality out there on the roads. Let's dig in before we get to our guest, Mr. Caprio, in our second and third segments. And don't forget your state of mind coming up as well. Yeah, you know what? So I get a text from a friend today as I was about to begin the radio program. He's on Route 4 going to the beach. And he's saying, you know what? How about a couple officers at the lights on Route 4? There's 2 lights, right? Old Hill Road and whatever the heck the other road is there. Right? They do it on Saturdays. Sometimes the troopers go down and push the buttons. But if we really are, he texts me, he says, Dan, if we're really into economic development and we really want to make the beaches such a prized jewel around here, can we make it a little easier to get there from here? It's true. And so I raised the question to the radio listeners, and here's just a couple of samples of people's thoughts on it.
I have an alarm on my phone where I can set a weekend time and a weekday time.
Oh, hey, isn't that fancy?
And imagine just having an app for it. So why can't we set the light to change and be a little bit longer on green instead of even having guys? I can't believe in this day and age you need a guy with a button.
Yeah, that's Joe, and then there was another guy who thinks that there's a grand conspiracy going on. The people in South County just don't want to see us.
All these rich people, in General Assembly and judges, they live in that area, and they put the brakes on any project that's going to help traffic. They don't want people coming to the area. They want you, if you can, sit in traffic, sweat your brains out, go to the beach, never come back, or leave very early in the afternoon so they don't look at you during dinner time.
The doubling of the fees and making it so difficult to get down there, something doesn't make sense when this is really one of our prize things to celebrate, right? Just a thought. Maybe you can figure out what the solution ought to be. An underpass, an overpass, something. All right, next item. Really? Look at the headline here. I mean, when I saw this today, I saw, you guys got to be kidding me. So there's 10 members of the House of Representatives and 13 members of the state Senate who are refusing their constitutionally approved pay raise. Years ago, the General Assembly took the politics out of what they make part-time and said, you know what, we're not going to vote and debate on it anymore. We're just going to make it a cost of living index, and it could go up or down depending on what the data is the previous year. So this year they get a 1.5% pay increase as part of that data. And now 10 say they don't want the $224 increase. Literally, that's the whole increase. And 10 on the House side, 13 on the Senate side say the same thing. I'm so sick and tired. Are you, forget what I think. Are you sick and tired of being treated like an idiot? Look, when your legislator in this election season says, and I forewent my raise, ask them a better question. Yeah, what did you vote on? Because what you voted on cost me an arm and a leg. Frankly, I'd give you another $10,000 a year if you could save $1 billion out of the budget. Phonies. Knock it off, and don't let anybody get away with this whole thing of, you know, I'm thinking of you, I'm the common person, I'm the every man, every woman. I understand your pain, that's why I didn't take the $224. Sell it to the Air Force, will you please? Next item here. And so, selling it to the Air Force, the Speaker thinks he saved the day. You remember that headline a couple of weeks ago with the big debate on kneecap. Deborah Gist, the Education Commissioner, was here on Thursday, and she was lamenting the timing of canceling the kneecap as a requirement for high school graduation.
This didn't just happen while it may have felt very sudden. I mean, we've been dealing with this for months. I mean, people have been working very hard to get out a message that was frequently not correct about what we were doing, what the policy was. It was interesting because as we were leading up to that, you know, to the end of the General Assembly's session, I kept saying to people, like, now is not the time. We're at the, you know, we're at the 25.5 point marker in a marathon, and then we had crossed the finish line, and you know, the year had gone through. It had been not easy, but definitely a success, and so it was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, not only crossed the finish line, but the runners had put on their sweatpants, got in the car, and went home. And the General Assembly said, oh, by the way, that kneecap test is not necessarily a requirement anymore. Nick Mattiello, the House Speaker, was on with newsmakers, Tim White and Ted Nesi this Sunday, and boy, he was, you know, boy, thank God he was there.
This was a unique situation where citizens, educators, administrators, everybody felt as though we were not exactly on the right path, and I resisted the change. I resisted passing the bill, delaying the implementation, because I thought a lot of good work went into the implementation of a standardized graduation requirement, and that I didn't want to derail that effort. This particular test and how the waivers were being implemented wasn't done equitably and fairly across the board, and there was no pathways for people with developmental disabilities, and for that reason we were forced to act.
A, that's not true, that there's no pathways for people with developmental disabilities, and B, that the communities were inconsistent with their waiver execution, did not require the General Assembly to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. One of the worst governmental moves I've seen in a long time. And he thinks he's some kind of a hero. Unbelievable. Next item. Yeah, hey, listen. Giovanni Ferroci's got a brand new deal, I guess. Headline. He kind of hinted when he was here back in April that he was working on something. This, of course, the former CEO of Alex and Ani. What's next for you?
I'm very excited. I mean, I'm looking at obviously a lot of opportunities from LA to New York, and I'm hoping that, and I think I found it, frankly. I'm hoping to be able to get something and bring it here to Rhode Island, and really just continue the job creation. I always felt I had one job, and that was to create jobs.
Well, you know what? He says he's going to create jobs with this new brand, which is Benris. He's got some work to do. I don't remember Benris as a watch, but I'm not a watch guy. See, I don't even wear one, although I'm thinking about getting one of those watches on the golf course, you know, that gives you to the pin. I don't know, can I swing with that? Anyway, I'll ask Mr. Ferroci about that when he comes in. Anyway, we'll invite him back in to hear about this new multi-billion-dollar plan he has. That's his goal, a multi-billion-dollar company. Hey, he was on his way with Alex and Ani. We'll see. And let's go to the sports world. If I'd known, I might have watched. Headline: Petra Kvitova. Is that right? I promised. I practiced. Kvitova only took 55 minutes to win the Wimbledon Championship. Tennis is another one of those games. It was fun to play when I was in college, usually after a couple of beers. What can I tell you? You know, outside we had a tennis court outside the dorm. I respect tennis. I know it's a grueling game. I can't watch it for that long. It's kind of like soccer. I can't watch it. But if you told me that it was only 55 minutes, I would have been there. Laura says, well, how does that help? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen at the beginning. I said, I know, meaning I can't watch soccer. And finally, can I just mention this? Twice this week, I've run into women very upset behind the wheel, young women, under 25. One is yelling F-bombs, literally, as I'm stuck in a situation in Newport. I could tell you the details, but I don't have time. And then this morning, coming to work, I see this very attractive young girl, 23 years of age, flipping the bird to another guy, you know, with her finger right out the door, you know, the whole blah, 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 with the whole big bird thing going. I'm thinking, Ladies, you put yourself in a lot of jeopardy when you're that aggressive, all by yourself in the car. There are crazy people out there, including you. But then Jess tells me women have always been crazy behind the wheel? So it's not a new trend. Who knew? Calm down out there. Please, relax. You'll get there. All right, when we come back, Frank Caprio is my guest. He wants to be your state treasurer. He lost a competitor in the primary last week. So, you know, a little bit of politics in the treasurer's race in the last couple of weeks, which makes it interesting because it's got to get on the front page or close to the front page somehow. Here was last week's story in the Journal. Oh, my God. You know, lights out. He almost ran as a Republican. Holy cow. Yeah, you know, I was saying on the radio, welcome, by the way. It is good to see you as always. I was saying on the radio the other day, how did they fill that much space in a newspaper article about whether or not you were going to run for Republican? There was no mystery that you had meetings with Republicans in 2010 thinking about the governor's race. And you say you never mold going, whatever. Were you thinking about running as a Republican as treasurer? Fill in the blanks here.
Well, a year ago, I've said, I think on your show and other shows, I was unaffiliated, and I said I'll leave all my options open. Yeah. And that was recouping a year ago. But over the last year, I'm glad the decision that I did make to run the Democratic primary. You know, over the last year, we've gotten close to 65–70% of the city and town committee chairs to endorse me. We got pretty much the same percent of the state committee to endorse me. You know, but it was a year of work. It was a year of reconnecting and you know, getting in front of the leadership of the party, and I think it's worked out well. But now we go to the next stage of the campaign, which is the sprint towards September 9th.
Seth Magaziner, the other Democrat remaining in the primary, now touts himself as the only true Democrat. By the way, Mr. Magaziner, wherever you happen to be, this is Mr. Caprio's third appearance on the broadcast. Mr. Almonte's had 3. You're welcome. I don't know where this kid is. You see him out there on the street anywhere, or what's going on? He's just waiting for Bill Clinton to come in for him and try to swing a whole big election at the end of the primary. I don't know.
This is the 11th election I've run as a Democrat, and going to work hard to be successful. You know, ask the people in the primary to support me. You know, I first ran when I was a little younger than my opponent, and now I'm a little older, obviously, than he is. So I've run at all different stages in my life, and it's been a lot of fun along the way. But you know, this is a serious race, and I'm looking forward to the next couple months.
I want to talk to you about some of the issues, obviously, in this race. But can we run Ernie Almonte from last week? Now, Ernie has kept us on our toes, right? Because he first said he was going to run for governor as a Democrat. Said, hey, you know what? I'm going to switch off. I'm going to run for treasurer as a Democrat, and now he's running for treasurer as an independent.
I probably wouldn't get the Democratic endorsement. I mean, as soon as the head of the party is the brother of one of the candidates, I knew then I probably was going to get the Democratic endorsement. The people that knew me as an auditor and in government finance. I wasn't out there politically. So again, you go to Frank, he's got a political dynasty family. You go to Seth, also comes from a political family dynasty. I was just an average guy with a financial education that wants to do the right thing for the state. It's hard to get everyone to know your name.
What's your take on Ernie Almonte bowing out as a Democrat and going to the general election as an independent?
Actually, that's the first time I've seen that. And in 2010, I was running for governor, and the party chair's brother was running against me. And I looked at that as a great challenge, and I said, if I can get the endorsement with the party chair's brother as my opponent, that's really going to set the stage going forward. And I ended up pulling that off.
So he should have tried same, is what you're saying? Your brother David, by the way, for those of you who's running, is the chairman of the party.
Yeah, I'm just, that's the first time I saw that clip, and it just jogged that memory of, I remember seeing the landscape
what's your message?
In front of me.
Try harder? I mean, is that what your message is?
That would have been a great test to say, all right, here's what he thought was a landscape that he thought was going to be difficult, but overcome it and let the results speak for themselves. You know, like I said, in 2010, I was able to do that.
Yeah, polling data has you pretty much out in front right now in this race on the Democratic side, and you know, I don't think Ernie could have survived in the Democratic primary, although he might provide you some kind of a challenge once the deck clears a little bit in the general election, because you're both smart guys with serious ideas on how to run that office, don't you think?
Let me say, a few things. First of all the people that are in the treasurer's race are qualified for the job. good candidates, have worked hard. You know, Ernie Almonte decided he wanted to, you know, leave the party and run as an independent. That's his choice. But right now I'm focused on the primary. There's a lot of issues that, you know, we can talk about that are important to keeping Rhode Island moving in the right direction, and I plan on get my message out there over the next couple months.
All right, let's bang out a couple of those issues when we come back with Frank Caprio. Stay with us. All right, so getting away from the politics of the politics. By the way, not for nothing, I do have to ask this question, just in terms of getting attention for the treasurer's race. You know, down ticket races are going to be even more difficult now that Buddy Cianci is in the mayor's race and the media's fascination with that. What's your take on all of that?
I think, you know, there's multi-candidates in the governor's race, Democrat and Republican. There's also a big primary in the Massachusetts governor's race, I think, will come into our market. And there's all the down ballot races before the mayor's race heated up to the level that it is. So,
well, you're stating the obvious. What I'm saying is that there's only so much room, you know, air in the room to pay attention to stuff. I mean, how does that impact the way you're thinking about this race and how you're going to strategize getting out there? I mean, you can come here as much as you want. All the candidates can, but I'm just saying, it's going to be difficult to get attention.
Well, we knew that, you know, 6-9 months ago that the landscape was going to be cluttered. So it makes it even more important. Have a good ground game. Have, you know, good presence over the next couple of months at all the local events. Have the people that are running for local office, you know, reaching out to campaign alongside you.
So you're saying it doesn't matter. That's what you're saying, more or less. I mean, that's your answer. Okay, so let's talk about 38 Studios for a second. Now that the bonds have been issued, did you take any interest in something that Ken Block had mentioned, that Fitch, late in the game, said it would not have been an adjustment problem for Rhode Island in terms of, you know, bond rating capability, that Standard & Poor's and Moody's maybe jumped the gun and were a little bit too alarmist. What was your thought on that?
What this highlights is what, you know, I said a few months back, and that is we cannot have a financial advisor that we're paying to have the line of communication with the rating agencies that is conflicted and cannot deal with the rating agencies when it comes to 38 Studios. So after this election, if I'm elected, first action, First Southwest will be asked to step aside as the state's financial advisor.
They're the consultant that we're suing on 38 Studios.
Correct. We're suing a firm.
That's consulting the Treasury.
That's consulting not just the Treasury, but the state government when it goes to deal with the rating agencies and to issue bonds. So you tell me, is it any wonder that we have confusion with what's going on with the rating agencies when our conduit to the rating agencies can't talk to them about 38 Studios or advise us about 38 Studios? So, you know, a major issue. And so clear cut, you have to scratch your head and say, why haven't the people at First Southwest decide to just step back voluntarily? I think that would be, you know, from an optics perspective, a wise move.
But you get elected, you're going to make some changes there.
Immediately. Immediately.
You keep talking about how the Treasurer's office impacts creating jobs and helping the economy. Everybody says they're going to have an impact on jobs and the economy. What specifically do you think you can do from that spot that's going to help that?
Well, within the pension fund that the Treasury plays a big role in, the pension fund lends out billions of dollars, lends money to governments through by buying bonds, lends money to corporations by buying bonds of corporations. Some of them are household names, companies like McDonald's or Microsoft or other major companies that issue bonds. But then it also hires money managers to make loans to other types of companies or entities. For example, there's hedge funds in the portfolio right now. I'm not advocating this, but there's hedge funds that are making loans in the Congo. That's a part of Africa. That's not creating jobs in Rhode Island or helping create jobs in Rhode Island. We can seek out world-class money managers that extend loans within the southeastern New England region that will help our local economy, help companies grow, create jobs, and expand their business plans. That's when I mentioned what you can do through the Treasurer's office to help the local economy. That's an example.
Speaking of the hedge funds and the like, by the way, we've learned last week that there are some hedge funds that are invested in Massachusetts casinos.
Correct.
in our current portfolio. Thought on that?
Yeah, I think we need to be very careful with teaming up with money managers that are going to harm Rhode Island's bottom line. Sometimes you can't predict when you make an investment where the money manager will then eventually take their interests. But you need to in today's world, and the transparency and the ability to move quickly in and out of the market and in and out of investments, I think we can have more of an oversight role and make decisions that are in Rhode Island's best interest, not necessarily going to cause our bottom line to have a material problem down the line.
All right, so in the minute that we have left or so, what did somebody not know about this treasurer's race and what you're bringing to the table?
Well, this is going forward. The treasurer's office is going to be a place where a lot of important decisions need to be made. We've seen over the last 10 years the financial issues in Rhode Island aren't getting any easier. We have a pension fund that is paying out about $80 million in fees right now, which is much higher than it was when I was in office. We were paying less than $20 million in fees. That should be money that should stay in the pension fund and grow for the future retirees, not be being shipped out to billionaire money managers on Wall Street.
All right. Mr. Almonte is coming on the radio tomorrow at noon, breaking the boycott of WPRO, which you are still honoring. How long are you going to go on with that nonsense?
We'll keep the dialogue going.
What dialogue? There's no dialogue. Just a bunch of you guys all acting in a herd, waiting for one to step out to end this nonsense.
Well, I think, I've been no stranger to your show or the other shows through the years, so sometime in the future, hopefully we can get back on that airwave too.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. This is how you give us feedback, 228-1886, or email us, or Facebook post, or tweet at us. And here's a tweet from Gary Sass, former Department of Revenue guy, and now up at Bryant. For better or worse, it appears that the General Assembly may become the state school committee. What could this mean for the Board of Education? I think it's a disaster. It goes to my rundown commentary on House Speaker Nick Mattiello. They should never have canceled that kneecap. It's a bad precedent. See you tomorrow on the radio at noon. Ernie Almonte and Catherine Taylor tomorrow night. Bye.